Can you speak to the importance of data visualization and how that plays a role in all of your individual jobs, and whether like unstructured data needs to be visualized to make better decisions, and what some of your favorite data viz tools are?
I mean, I love data visualization. Unrelated, it's sort of a passion project of mine. I have a conference that I do in New York every year called Visualized, which is really about telling stories with data, which I think all data visualization does. In that regard, we're really focused on stories. So I love data journalism and sort of that aspect of it. But really, because data is such it's massive, the scale is huge, people have a very difficult time interpreting it. Numbers don't process properly. Excel spreadsheets, for most humans, don't, it's not what I want to look at necessarily. But, and dashboards, I think, are sort of a way that happens if they're properly created. But I think there's even more nuance and meaning that's coming from that visualization space. In general, when you take a business's data and all those silos and sort of tracking across things that certain people need to know, almost never are you going to find two people who can interpret the same visual the same way. So some of the I use Tableau quite a bit. There's a bunch of other tools. On the open source side, there's a lot of innovation going on right now with data visualization. D3. There was someone who came to speak at the last conference who just released something, which I'm blanking on. But they're I think from that perspective, it's about actually spending time at the data team, making sure that you're dealing with the decision makers and that they're actually able to make decisions based on it. Otherwise, that is
Yeah, visualizing it is so key, and it's expensive right now. Like Tableau and some of these tools are quite costly. But D3 is making huge strides.
Awesome tool.
Yeah. What about you guys? Do you have any recommendations for people to visualize their data and actually make sense of it?
We actually have. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We actually have a data visualization group because, like you said, it's and I've actually done this, right? Like I'll take kind of reports and I'll go up to someone, and it's very interesting to see two very intelligent people's take on what you're showing them. And in my mind, it's kind of very clear as well. So it's everything a little differently. So the way I like to approach it is as simple as you can make it. And I know some things can't be that simple, the better. And I'll always kind of veer towards that. And I know that people on my team specifically, they're using a lot of Tableau, a lot of D3. They're building a lot of in-house stuff. We have some very kind of awesome Python kind of coders that are building these like pipelines that are creating these just awesome visuals. And you can have like so many pretty little charts, but what is it really saying? And I think the basis of it all is, like who cares? Who cares? If you ask yourself the question, who cares? And then you're like, okay, this matters because of this. And then you have to really be able to answer that question. And that's where I think the data visualization comes into play, because you can create the coolest looking things, but nobody's going to use them. And in my organization specifically, it's very kind of data heavy. People are using these things to make big decisions, whether it's a simple omniture dashboard or something that's a little bit more complex that we're going in to create. And we decide what to create based on what we see a need for internally. So right now, obviously huge push on social, huge push on content type pieces, huge push on anything that's failing, meaning, is an app crashing, is a video not loading, so we can kind of better understand, those fail rates and be able to see them in one view. So those are the primary.
Failing is one part, but on the other hand, it's just market shifting into new places. So what are you doing on the predictive side to keep up with always evolving platforms?
So, so the second component to that, definitely, very good point. We have an emerging kind of platforms division where that's kind of the job of those people to do, and they work very closely with our BI team to go into the massive amounts of data that we not only have stored, but all the real-time data as well, to kind of build these, and I know you touched on that, like these predictive analysis models. Looking at, an example, we just redid the Colbert site, and things like that. What we did there, that was all based on predictive analysis from, other pieces of Colbert content that we were looking at closely, from sites that resembled it, from user IDs that we were able to gather, and looking at specifically those people's behavior and what they wanted to see on the site. So a lot of thought goes into something like that, months before something like that is ever even built or created. And it was actually, that whole redesign ended up being a great success because of that kind of predictive and like into the future looking we were able to do based on data that we have, real-time data, and then us being able to kind of foresee what would happen in trends.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we don't build our own visualization tools, but we partner with Tableau is one of our important ones. So because visualization is super important, but it's also difficult to do, right? There are so many ways you can look at the data. Like you said, you have to make sure that you get something that gives you value. But as an example, why is visualization important? Look at Google Maps, right, with the traffic information. If you look at it and you see right away where it's red, what freeways are busy. Think of if you got that in a tabular format, right? It wouldn't be valuable, right? You would never be able to read it like that. Or there's some social visualization tools that give you a picture of your social network, right? And that would be impossible for you to see. I mean, yeah, you can plot it into an Excel spreadsheet and show the connections, but it's just zeros and ones. But when you put it into a nice visualization, you can quickly see what are your groups there and how they overlap. And so visualization, I think with this big data, it's going to become more and more important because it's like the old saying says, a picture is worth 1,000, probably 1,000,000 bits or something like that. You can process it real fast. Your eyes are very good and your brain is very good at looking pretty pictures with colors and shapes and all that stuff. So that's very important. Visual awareness.
Yeah, just understanding your user, who's looking at this, and then try to customize it so that they're able to see it and make the decisions they need to make based on that. So that that in itself is its own research step, right? So
customization and interactivity, allowing people to build those things. It's a very subjective thing how you want to look at it. I think building the ability for users to make some of the decisions themselves. But there's definitely an emerging language around visualizing data in general. There's like you said, there's certain things that just don't. Tabular data does not work, or traffic estimates. There's definitely things that work.
What I want to see is the next traffic app. I don't know if anybody's working on this, but we know a lot of people are using Waze and Google Maps, right? So they all see that same information. Oh, 405 is busy. Where are they going to reroute people? So I'm going to be there 10 minutes from now. What is the fastest route 10 minutes from now? That's your predictive analytics. And I look at it and I try to figure out. I have several routes. I work in El Segundo. I live in Santa Monica, and 405 usually is not the best way to go, right?
Ever, yeah, just don't do it.
But there are several other alternative routes that I can take and try to predict, what is the best one. I have my own heuristics, right? But it'd be nice if there was some predictive stuff to tell you. So I think visualization could come into help there too, right?
Someone was looking at how Waze rerouting through neighborhoods has affected real estate values. Actually, there's little things like that, right? Moving people through Brentwood now, the housing values go down because there's too much traffic.